and out on that leg side. That's the bigger bat. In fact, he's rather than look to the leg side, he's gone for the reverse, went very early and not an elegant looking shot by any means there. Got into an awkward position and they got nothing on it, and it went through to Cox, who must have been worrying about his teeth then, as that was all bat and arms. He's tried it again, ball in the air. He's going to get 6 for it. This reverse sweep, got plenty on it on that occasion. There is a man out on the boundary, Ed Pollock, but no chance for him getting round towards the pavilion, and 6 to Maxwell.
Just a magnificent shot, isn't it? Absolutely. I mean, what's special for me about that is that he plays it once and he gets it wrong. And he isn't daunted at all. He just thinks, well, I'll get it right next time. And he does. Superb. Absolutely superb.
So D'Oliveira immediately under pressure. No change in the field, though. He's gone for it again. And there's an appeal for LBW, and they'll come through for a leg bye. Umpire Paul Pollard said not out.
He's hit it, I think. It's got a glove on it.
Yeah, it's no signal from the umpire. Just looking at this Worcestershire side in the field, it's not the most athletic that they've ever had. Decent fielders all, but not as athletic.
Well, you haven't got a Ross Whiteley or an Ed Barnard for a start.
No. D'Oliveira drags this one down. It's pulled straight to the fielder, though, as a fumble by Jack Haynes. A fine leg inside the circle.
Yes, Chris Benjamin rather missed out there, didn't he? I think that was, as you say, dragged down, and I think Chris Benjamin in form would have deposited that one over by the scoreboard.
69 for 2 it remains. Benjamin's on 2 from 4 deliveries. Oliveira, a couple of balls left in the over, gives this a little bit more flight, driven nicely all along the ground to Ed Pollock on the cover boundary, and they're restricted to 1. In fact, that was the last ball of the over. So 8 overs completed now. That run rate has just dropped a little, down to 8.8. And the Bears, having been put in, are 70 for 2, with Maxwell on 8, Benjamin on 3, the 2 men out, Davis for 28, and Yates for 27. And just tell you, in the Test match, England have declared at 393 for 8. So they've obviously got about 5 overs left, I would have thought.
For Broad to go around the wicket and try and get Warner out, I guess. But you've got to say it's positive, haven't you?
It might be.
I'm not so sure. Usama Mir begins his second over, the first having gone for just 4, and that's driven all the way to the point boundary. Or is it stopped just on the rope? It's just nestling against the rope. 4 runs for Chris Benjamin, and I don't think Usama Mir was too impressed, either cursing because he dropped it short or because the fielder didn't quite cut it off. But any road up, it's 4 runs to Benjamin. I'm not sure about. I mean, if you could get another 50 runs for those 2 wickets.
I agree.
Here comes Usama Mir again. Good loop delivery, and Benjamin just took this up to long on.
Now, what I meant was that it was positive. You can't say it's not a positive move and try and get a couple of wickets tonight.
I think sometimes you can believe your own hype, though, can't you?
I think that might be what's happening.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think the Bears will be declaring their innings here any time before the 20 overs are up. Usama Mir from the New Road End. Good delivery, straight delivery, which Maxwell can only just drive through the covers up to the deep fielder, and it's another single. Rapids just keeping a shackle on the Bears' innings. A really bright start for the Bears, opening stand of 51 in 33 balls from Yates and Davis, but they're both gone now. Usama Mir is in again and smote up to long on by Benjamin. Not a very graceful shot. Didn't get all of it either, but he will get a single to long on. Chris Benjamin, not in good nick. He is the sort of player, though, you get the feeling that it could just click. And if that was to happen, then the 200 might be back on the cards. Maxwell is facing now, and that's gone a long way up in the air. Santner is underneath it. It's gone a long way, and it's caught. Santner makes no mistake. Glenn Maxwell, who hasn't imposed himself with the bat during his time with the Bears so far, misses out again. He's gone for just 9. And the Rapids fight back continues. The Bears 77 for 3.
Good catch that, wasn't it? You could say it was straight down his throat. Didn't have far to go in, but he was under it for such a long time. And not an easy sky to catch out of. Very white sky, sort of cloud, faintly white ball. I thought he just made it look very, very easy, but big catch. Worcestershire dropped 2 catches last week at Headingley, you know, and it, at the time you don't think of it, but it eventually cost the game almost conclusively, and I just thought he judged that very, very nicely, stayed calm. You'd expect it, he's a top player, but well, good stuff from Usama Mir again, Chris. He's done really well.
Yeah, and just about the catch, he never looked under any stress, did he? He just stood still, waiting for the ball to come, and he never thought he was going to drop that. But yeah, Usama Mir, he's two wickets in 2 overs, and these are big breakthroughs for the Rapids.
Yes, it went very, very high, didn't it? And the sort of catches that some club cricketers would be thinking, oh my word, there's far too much to think about while that's in the air. But Santner made it look, as you say, Frank, very easy. Usama Mir has 2 for 11, comes in to complete his second over. Moseley is the new batsman who is off the mark with a cut single out to extra cover. The Bears reach the end of the 9th over on 78 for 3. Moseley has 1. And Chris Benjamin 9, and the balance of power is just tilted towards the Rapids.
Yeah, maybe. It's a good over. I mean, 8 runs came from it, but it was a big wicket, wasn't it? And it's that confidence that we saw from Maxwell when he played that sort of switch hit for 6. It's that confidence of a player that's played this form of cricket all over the world that has gone, and it brings out Dan Mousley, who a player that I have had quite a bit more to do with Brian than Rob Yates. Coached him quite a bit, and a lovely, lovely lad, one of my favourite young cricketers that I've come into contact with over the last few years, and I'm really thrilled to see him doing really well at Warwickshire. I'd like him to do well tonight. I wouldn't like him to do too well, but we'll see. He's going to face Mitchell Santner, who's bowling from the Diglis end now, over the wicket. Mousley, tall, left-handed, waits and cuts beautifully his first ball out into the covers. Pat Brown off the boundary to do the fielding, and Mousley goes to 2 off 2, and the Bears to 79 for 3. Missing Sam Hain tonight, the top batsman in the country in the Blast so far this season, and opportunities for others, particularly the likes of Chris Benjamin, Dan Mousley, Jacob Bethel, to impress in his absence. But after an excellent power play which saw the Bears 58 for 1, the Rapids have struck back quite nicely, and Mitchell Santner now round the wicket to the left-handed Benjamin, bowls, and Benjamin pulls this for 4. It was a bad delivery from Santner. It was dragged down, and he missed out on one before like that from D'Oliveira, not missing out this time. Benjamin just swivelled round really and pulled it behind square for a boundary, which takes him on to 13 and Bears on to 83 for 3. Haven't had much contact from anybody on Twitter. You can get in touch. Bears or Pairs fans, welcome to tell us what they think. Maybe you'd like to tell us what you think would be a decent score. Santner in again, bowls, and it's a repeat of the previous delivery, and it's a repeat of the shot from the previous delivery. As again Santner drops it short, and Benjamin, well, he can't believe his luck here, because that's 2 absolute half trackers, and he's pulled it round for 4 more. 87 for 3, he goes to 17 off 10. If you do want to get in touch, Twitter is the best method, at Frank Watson 58 for me, at Brain Haldorf, BrainHaldorf, if you want to get in touch with Brian. 87 for 3. Santner again bowls, and again a little bit short of a length, bit pushed through a bit quicker this time. Worked on the leg side by Benjamin. Takes a single. Mousley wants 2, but he's sent back as Kashif Ali comes in to do the fielding. So Benjamin goes to 18, 88 for 3. Mitchell Santner always fascinates me watching him. He's almost like a one-arm bowler. He drops his front arm so quickly, and then a lot of body in the action. He really pivots into it. He tries to impart spin onto the ball, and this one Mousley drives off the back foot behind square on the offside. They'll take 1. They come back for 2, and he has to hurry, but he gets back as the throw comes in from Pat Brown. So 2 more to Mousley. He moves up to 4. And the total to 90 for 3. That's something that has really changed in Dan Mousley's game, and I hope he won't mind me saying it, but he was always a little bit slow on his feet as a younger player. He's worked really, really hard. He's grown as well. His strides are a lot longer, but he's worked really hard at it. Got back well for 2. Sent the bowls. Oh, that's nicely bowled. And Mousley was going to go for a little reverse paddle there, and Santner took so much pace off it that he had absolutely finished the shot before the ball arrived. And it also looked just to me as though that one just clung a bit in the surface and turned, which will be of interest to Danny Briggs and Jake Lintop, to name but 2. 90 for 3 at the end of the 10th over. The halfway point, said par was about 180. That's maybe how it's looking. Bears have just slowed down a little bit in the face of good Rapids pressure in the last few overs. 90 for 3 off 10.
I think the one thing the Rapids will be a little disappointed about is too many 4 balls. As Usama Mir starts a new over and is driven nicely into the offside where D'Oliveira does the fielding. So there's been some nice little passages, but too many 4 balls.
Well, there have been, 11 fours, I think, so far in the innings, and 2 sixes. Yeah.
Just going back to Maxwell as well, he only faced, I think, 7 deliveries as Usama Mir bowls. And good use of the feet here, making it into a full toss by Mousley, I should say, and they threw for 1 to deep mid-wickets.
What a take that was by Bencock. I know it inconsequential in the bigger picture, but that was a dreadful throw came in, and he just picked it up on the half volley as easy as you like. Brilliant keeping.
Yeah, Maxwell, you just felt he was stretching for the ball all the time. It just didn't get to the pitch of it. Next delivery, it's floated and driven by Benjamin into the offside. Benjamin's quickly gone on to 19 from 13 deliveries now, fielded by D'Oliveira. 8.8 is the run rate. Usama, nice ball again that sees a forward defensive from Benjamin. It's pushing it off the strip. And a lot of arm movement, isn't there, with Santner? There's nothing with his non-delivery arm, whereas Usama Mir, it's all arms as he gets into his bowling action. And again, it's a dot ball. It's cut to backward point. Gets a good round of applause from this packed house. 1 ball left. Now, can he just finish the over off, as we often say, or is Benjamin going to look to get after him? Of course, plenty on the boundary now, as we're in the 11th over. And he goes back, turns it onto the leg side, and Hose coming off the boundary. Comes in about 2/3 of the way, and they'll pick up 1. The end of the over, 11 completed now. That run rate is down to 8.4. with the Bears 99 for 3, with Mousley on 5 and Benjamin on 20.
Yes, the 1 or 2 have turned. Really lovely variation from Usama Mir as well. 3 overs, 2 for 15, super bowling. And if there's a bit of turn, the Bears won't mind that. They've got Dan Mousley, Glenn Maxwell, Danny Briggs all going at under 7 and over in the blast this year. That's the real the fulcrum of the Bears bowling attack, the spinners. So they won't be too unhappy to see a bit of grip out there. Matthew Waite returns to the attack for his second over. His first one was the first over of the innings, went for 10. Now the Bears will be looking to move up through the gears now. It's time for them to try and find the boundaries a little bit more often. But the Rapids have played really good T20 cricket in the last hour. Here comes Waite to Benjamin, who makes space, tries to fire the ball straight, but only finds mid-off. And they take a single.
I think it's interesting what Chris said about Glenn Maxwell. I think when a top player is out of form a little bit, there's different ways of trying to get back into form, and one of them in the short form of the game is, look, I'll just go out there and go for it, you know. And he did give that impression tonight, didn't he? Going for those switch hits early on and getting one of them away really well. But when you think he only faced 7 balls,
that innings actually was quite similar to several he's played. gets away with a big shot, and the Bears fans think, here we go, but hasn't played a really, other than the first, he got a very important 40 odd in his first game. Since then, it's been a question of near misses for Maxwell. Here comes Waite. Good delivery, Yorker length, and Mosley can just scuff this out up to long on for a single. Good start to the over from Matthew Waite, 2 singles. I do wonder sometimes, quite a few, I think several dot balls today have come from failed improvisations. Now, we all know how important and how thrilling improvised shots can be and how effective they can be. I do wonder sometimes if batters get themselves into a hole by over-improvising. This is going to be another single as Benjamin pushes the ball up to mid-on, and this is really good stuff from Matthew Waite. 3 balls, 3 singles.
It's a coach's dilemma, that, really, that you're talking about, Brian. I think, you know, and you over-improvisation can be a problem. I always used to take the view that improvisation's good, but only if you can't score in conventional ways, you know, and maybe looking for it before you've explored the conventional corridors is a bit odd.
Waite into the left-handed Mosley, who's down the track, bashing the ball out to the cover boundary where there is a fielder, and another single.
But that said, you know, I didn't play this kind of cricket, and I haven't had that much experience of it, and I think they work hard with the analysts and they work out what works for them and so on, and some of what we see these days is just breathtaking, I think.
Benjamin waits for Waite, and it will be another single that is turned into the mid-wicket field, and they'll scamper back for a second on this occasion because he didn't time that too well, which allowed the ball to move slowly enough for them to scamper too. Yes, your protege, Mr. Mosley, has taken the improvisation very effectively into red ball cricket as well. He played the most incredible lapped 6 in the championship earlier in the season at a really important time when the Bears needed to score quickly. And of course, as Waite comes in, and this is hammered back past the bowler, and that's going enough on it to get all the way to the boundary. A dead straight 4 for Chris Benjamin. And of course, if the improvisation comes off, we all say, wow, how good was that? If it doesn't, it's a real gamble, isn't it? And I guess the batters have got to be brave enough to be prepared to fail. Yeah, there's 103 for 3 from 12 overs.
Yeah, when they start playing those shots in red ball cricket and they come off, they can really play havoc with the captain's field setting and that kind of thing. And I think you've got to take your hat off to the batsman. And as Brian says, when they don't come off, if you go for a switch hit or a reverse sweep in a red ball game and you get yourself out, you can look a bit of a Charlie. But it's the way the game's changing, and I, for one, am generally pretty much impressed by it, really. So Dan Mosley on strike. Bit of a stretch, I think, to call him my protege, but I'll take it as long as he's doing well. 103 for 3. He's on 7. Chris Benjamin is on 28 off 20. Mosley's scored at a runner ball so far. He faces the left-arm spin of Santner from the New Road End, and he's down the pitch and taken on the pad. Santner was thinking about an appeal, but he was a long, long way down. He's kicked it away on the offside, and they've gone through for a leg by. Santner having a laugh with the umpire, Milnes, about that, as if to say, how can I've done him in the air, done him completely, I've hit him on the pads and he's got to run for it. But there you go, 104 for 3. The more dangerous, or at the moment the more dangerous, Chris Benjamin is on strike. 10 runs coming off that last over. Up to that point, the Rapids had a good spell for about 20 minutes or so. Santner bowls again outside the off stump, and Benjamin cuts, but this time only a single, as Brown comes off the boundary to do the fielding. And it's not Brown, actually, it's Kashif Ali, I think, out there doing the fielding. And they get just the one, as I say, 105 for 3. Benjamin goes to 29. He's looked in good touch. Santner again is in from the New Road End and bowls, and Mosley plays a nice on drive through mid-wicket, all on the ground. They've come back for 2. They hurry. It's close, but a dive from Chris Benjamin gets him in, and he immediately springs to his feet and signals to the dugout that he'd like a drink taken out there. It's hot out there. He's been out there for a while. They've run a few good 2s. That was another good one. Good running. particularly by Benjamin, knowing he was coming back to the danger end. Mousley goes up to 9, 107 for 3. We're halfway through the 13th. Really important 3 or 4 overs coming up now. Santner bowls much slower. Nicely bowled. Deceived Mousley in the air. He got into position to play a little paddle, reverse paddle. Missed it. Not Mousley. Yes, it was Mousley. And he missed it and it hit Cox on the pads and ran away for a bye. 108 for 3. Benjamin on strike. Field changes over for the right-hander. 2 really slow deliveries in this over so far from Santner. Comes in again now and bowls. This one is pushed through a little bit more and it's a dot ball. Cleverly bowled and nicely fielded off his own bowling as he scampered away to his right and did his own fielding. Dot ball. Applause for the dot ball. As he's in again and bowls. This again is very slow from Santner, and it turned, and he's a little bit unlucky, I think, to get called a wide for that one. It turned quite significantly, and that's what made it wide. So cleverly bowled, but perhaps just the wrong line to start with. He's in again and bowls. This one pushed through, and Benjamin's annoyed with himself. He's on the back foot. Can't do anything with it, just pushes out on the offside. That's a really good over from Mitchell Santner. 6 runs only coming from it, which is good value in the 13th. 13 gone. Mousley 10, Benjamin 29. The Bears 109 for 3.
Yeah, terrific over, and how great was his attitude there, wasn't it? Fielding of his own bowling. On 2 occasions he cut off a single by racing one side to the wicket or the other. I think maybe a bit stung pride-wise for the previous over when he pulled down a couple of half-trackers which went for 4. That was most unlike Mitchell Santner, but that was a really good comeback, and I think the Bears just lagging a bit behind where they'd like to be now.
Matthew Waite to continue from the Diglis end. 2 overs for 20 runs. Mitchell Santner now 3 overs for 27. Usama Mir is the pick of the bowlers so far. 2 for 15 from 3 overs. But from a Rapids point of view, they could do with a breakthrough here. These two came together with a score on 77 in the 9th over. It's Mousley on strike, who drives straight to the fielder, though, at wide mid-off. Kashif Ali. So one thing about his black shoes that annoyed me on the one hand, but you could always pick him out in the field, couldn't you? No matter where he was, you knew where he was.
So old-fashioned. Such a stickler.
Wait. Just above medium pace, full-length ball that's driven into the ground over the bowler, and they'll trot through for a comfortable single. And although I said it was Kashif Ali that fielded that last one, it was Usama Mir. Just a little bit taller, and he's just coming across now to backward point for the right-handed Benjamin. 29 from 23 for him. D'Oliveira just taking himself back onto the rope at long off, which means fine leg has got to come up into the circle. Long on and long off out now. As this is a slow delivery and almost played on there, and they're through for a single. And Matthew Waite, don't know where he was going then.
Is that a catch?
So I don't know, but it was very close to playing it on. But they come through for 1. It's been a difficult evening behind the stumps for Ben Cox. Not been the easiest in terms of
down into the ground.
Things not going to hand, but not been easy for him to deal with, as Waits is. Oh, that's a lovely shot. Mousley, one bounce. Oh, no, in fact, signalled by Pat Brown out on that boundary as a 6, just about cleared the rope. But he got into position so early, and then it was just a reverse chip, wasn't it? It didn't fully go through the
replay now. It's
he just seemed to steer it with a.
Yeah, and he hit it really well, actually. Just so efficient.
He's on to 17. Puts the bowler under pressure. Slower delivery, driven nicely out to wide long off. Kashif Ali's out there, and they're through for 2. And scoreboard keeps ticking over. 119 for 3. 1 ball left.
It was so, when I say efficient, I mean, it really was, minimum of effort, minimum of backlift, perfect timing. Just brilliant how they play those shots.
Can he just finish the over off? Well, he will with a single, as it's driven by Mousley to Kashif again at long off. So 120 for 3 after 14. That run rate is just up a little bit from, it was at 8.4, gone up to 8.6. Mousley on 20. Benjamin on 30, and just in the test match, Australia replying to England's 393 for 8, declared off 13 without loss in the 3rd over.
11 off that over, Brian. They've had only 2 overs since the power play have gone into double figures. Oh, 3 have gone double figures, but nothing massive. It's got to happen now, isn't it, really, if they're going to get a big score?
Yeah. It has. And they've got batsmen capable of delivering that, but at the moment they're not clearing the ropes, are they? Just a couple of 6s so far, 3 6s so far. And here comes Santner to complete his spell from the new road end. Over the wicket to Mousley, who just pulls this away. They'll think of 2. I would advise them against it, and they decide not to. Just a single there. 121 for 3. Yes, they could do with a big over or 2.
Yeah.
I think the Rapids would be happy if they could keep the total down to around 180. Although there is a bit of turn and a bit of grip there, isn't there, for the spinners?
There is, definitely, I think.
Which Santner will be aiming to exploit here as Benjamin on 30 settles into his stance. Here comes Santner and Benjamin, an uncomplicated heave up to long on, and another single, superbly fielded by the captain down here at long on. He's given himself a lot to do because he's fielding at long on both ends at the moment. It's taking one for the team there.
That was the other side of modern cricket, wasn't it? We talked about the improvisation of the shots. His pace over the ground there and his fielding, up on his feet, got the throw back in.
And he bailed Santner out, didn't he? It was a poor ball.
Here comes Santner again, a reverse sweep from Mosley, who was into it very early and didn't quite connect properly with that one. It's just a single. Brett D'Oliveira only bowled the 1 over so far. He's taken 11 wickets, second top wicket taker for the Rapids in this year's blast, but using himself quite sparsely today. 1 over still to come from Usama Mir. 3 overs, 2 for 15. He's bowled beautifully. Mitchell Santner has 3 deliveries left in today's game, and here he comes to bowl the first of them. That's a wide outside the off stump, and Benjamin nobly tried to drag it across to the leg side but couldn't reach it, and it is signalled a wide, so Mitchell Santner still has 3 deliveries left.
5th wide of the innings.
Yeah, so that's getting up towards the 21st over, which Rapids won't be too happy about. Santner, and again, excellent ball into the block hole, which Benjamin squeezes out to a backward point for a single. 125 for 3.
Yeah, they've had a couple of innings where they've only bowled 1 or 2, and it really does make a difference, those extra deliveries.
Here comes Santner back over the wicket to the left-handed Mosley, who tucks this away to deep square leg. This just be one run there. Mosley moves to 22. Partnership now worth 48. Solid, without yet being spectacular. And the Bears probably need a little bit of spectacular if they're going to get the total up to where they'd like it to be. Here comes Santner to complete his bowling for the evening, and this is toe-ended to extra cover by Benjamin. He gets a single, 33 he moves to. Santner finishes, I think, with none for 33, and the Bears, with 5 overs remaining, are 127 for 3, and this really is in the balance.
Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe there's a bit more help in the pitch than we anticipated at the start, particularly for the slower bowlers. It just seems to be gripping. This turn, it's slow turn, but it just seems to be gripping a little bit, doesn't it? And batsmen struggling to go big against the spinners. They seem to have found it easier to play big shots against the seamers. For me, Rob Yates stands out tonight as the batsman that's timed the ball the best.
Well, if it is gripping for the spinners, then that's. I mean, the Bears could, in theory, bowl all 20 overs of spin.
Could, absolutely. Yeah.
But Brett D'Oliveira is coming back into the attack now.
Yeah, they could. They've got all sorts of options, and that's what you need in a modern T20 side. If you're going to be successful, you need flexibility, don't you, in your attack? And Warwickshire, Birmingham Bears, I should say, have certainly got that. Brett D'Oliveira from the Diglis end bowls, and Benjamin sweeps his first ball. Doesn't really get hold of it. Kind of bottom edge, hurries back for two, and it's run out. Can't believe it. Thought he was in. Great work by Cox. Santner came in through kind of underarm, flat, and Cox in the modern way, taking the ball in front of the stumps, flicking it back onto the stumps. Close one, this. I'm just watching a replay. It isn't from side on.
But be interesting to see, because I think he was run out because of probably a poor bit of fielding. Initially, I thought he was slow to pick it up.
He came back for two.
Very smart work by Ben Cox, wasn't it? Because the throw wasn't entirely straight. It was a good fast throw, but Cox had a lot to do to get the bails off. Really good wicket keeping.
You see keepers these days taking the ball in front of the stumps and bringing it back. As in my day when I was a keeper, it was always let the ball come past the stumps. That's why they do it. It just saves that split second. I still thought it was really tight, but and so did Benjamin. He was horrified to be given out. But out he is, and they get one run for it because they were coming back for the second. He has gone for 34. It's quite a big wicket for Worcestershire, given that he was the man that was in. New batsman is Ed Barnard. Big moment for him against his teammates, former teammates, close friends. Still lives in Worcester, and he's off the mark with a lovely shot. His first ball slapped for four through extra cover, bottom-handed. Not great fielding, to be fair. Kashif Ali running around at long off probably should have saved it, although he hit it very well, but he's off the mark, and he'll just feel a little bit easier with that one having gone to the boundary. Barnard, he's on four. D'Oliveira bowls to him again. He's on the back foot, working this way on the onside. They'll take one. They will come back for two, easy as well, because there's a slight misfield by Adam Hose coming off the long on boundary. So Barnard 6 off 2. Nice start for the ex-Pairs man, and the Bears on to 134 for 4 halfway through the 16th over. Brett D'Oliveira from the Diglis end in again, bowls now, and Barnard is forward and pushes out into the offside. Usama Mir does the fielding, and one more to the score, 135 for 4. But Benjamin out for 34, as I say. He faced 28 deliveries. He was the man in, and he was the man who really needed to kick on, you'd think. Although Dan Mosley, doing his best, comes down the pitch and hits D'Oliveira straight down the ground for 4. If it's doing a bit, and you're a spinner, what you don't want to do is bowl a big full toss like that. Mosley saw it coming, went down and hit it very nicely. And what's more, he didn't whack it, he just made sure he got it over the bowler's head, straight down the ground, and the fielders at long off and long on couldn't get in to field it. He goes to 27 off 19. Goes back and cuts this one away through extra cover. Only be a single this time, as Santner is on the boundary out there in front of the Cathedral. One bounce throw back to Cox, end of the over. Mosley keeps the strike. He is on 28. 13 off that over, 140 for 4 with 4 left.
Yeah, Mosley's put down some roots. Now, can he go on to play a really match-shaping innings? One of the problems, as we were saying earlier on for the Bears this year, they have leaned really hard on Sam Hain. 6 half-centuries by the Bears in the blast this year. 4 of them have come to Hain. So I think they need Mosley, it would be now Mosley, to go on and play a 50-plus innings.
He's on strike as Usama Mir bowls, and the reverse sweep, and that's gone fine for 4 runs down to fine leg. And well, fine leg, once he was in that position, it would have been third man, but got into position very early, and they got plenty onto that one. Went very quickly all along the ground. 144 for 4. And the run rate just below 9 now, just started to push on. I think going back to what I was saying earlier on about the fielding, it's not been poor fielding, but the last couple of overs, probably seeing what I was talking about, it's just not the real high top level as he turns his next one on square on the leg side. Just little fumbles that don't necessarily cost runs, but it shows that the fielders are under pressure, and it allows the batters to I think just think of 2 when there might be 1 and 3 when there might be 2, and it just puts that pressure on, gives them a little bit of confidence. 1-4-5 for 4. Usama bowls, gives this a little bit of air where it played uppishly into the offside, but dropped short of Santner. That's extra cover. Not in total control of that one, Ed Barnard. 7 from 4 for him. He'll want to do well here this evening. Use his feet, but finds Santner again in the offside. Usama Mir saw him coming, dropped it a little bit shorter, and in the end he had to play it defensively. So that'll make him a little bit twitchy. 2 dot balls, Ed Barnard. What will he do here? He's got plenty on the boundary. Will he, well, he's gone big. He's LBW appeal and he's gone. It's a 3rd wicket for Usama Mir. Those 2 dot balls put the pressure on him, and he went for the big one. Didn't get anything of it, and looked pretty well in front from here, although it's a difficult angle. But the umpire, David Milnes, had no hesitation. The finger went up. Barnard's gone for 7, and the Bears are 145 for 5.
Yeah, not much doubt about that decision, I don't think. And lovely bowling from Usama Mir, and this, who knows, could be the match-winning spell of bowling. 3 for 20 from the wrist spinner, and keeping new batsmen coming in. And as Frank said earlier on, that is a really good way to keep the scoring rate down, as new batsmen have to come in and get acclimatised. But lovely bowling from Usama Mir, and the Bears 145 for 5 towards the end of the 17th over.
And they put on 17 in just over an over, those two. New batter is Bethel, left-hander, as Usama Mir bowls what will be his final delivery. So he's come back with a bang, back into the side in place of Michael Bracewell. Drags this one down a little bit, and wide signalled by the umpire, so it wasn't his last delivery. Really dragged that one down. So 1 more to the total. It's is that 5th or 6th wide, I think it is now. 6th. 2 leg byes and 6 wides, as the final delivery is just flicked onto the leg side for a single, and that brings the end of an impressive spell for Usama Mir. He's bowled 4 overs and he's taken 3 for 22, with the Bears, with 3 overs remaining, 147 for 5. That's a run rate of 8.7.
Yeah, good bowling from Usama Mir. He was over here playing cricket for Colwyn Bay when he got the call from Worcestershire, and impressed. Initially signed for 3 T20s. Impressed. Called up then to play in the Championship at Hove earlier this week. Fantastic game of cricket that ended in a draw after 4 days, with Worcestershire needing 6 off the last ball. Couldn't get them, and retained for this T20 as well. I think he's had a trip back to Pakistan in between, so quite an eventful 2 or 3 weeks for the young man. 147 for 5. And it's you, isn't it, Brian?
Yes, Pat Brown from the Douglas end starts with a leg side wide, which, if there's one thing the Rapids might be a bit grumpy about, it's the amount of wides they're sending down. I think it's 9, is it, or 7 now?
7 now. Yeah.
Which is
too many.
More than they'd like. 3 overs to go. The Bears 148 for 5, in danger, I think, of coming in a little bit short. Although, as you say, chaps, I think maybe this pitch is a little more tricky for batting than we at first thought. Here comes Brown around the wicket to the left-handed Bethel, who tucks it away to deep mid-wicket for a single. One very interesting piece of team news with the Bears, of course, is the return of Jake Lintott.
Yeah.
Sam Hain, of course, a big miss to the batting. Jake Lintott was actually nobody would have seen that coming early in the season. He's been brilliant for the last 2 or 3 seasons, but he was actually been left out because his wrist spin just wasn't functioning the way it has done for several years. But now he's come back into the team today, and he's got quite a helpful wicket to bowl on. So the Bears will be looking to him for some real impact. Moseley tucks this one away to extra cover, and they take a single, and Pat Brown has started with good discipline here. The wide from the first ball, but then 2 good straight deliveries. And if the Rapids can keep a lid on this last few overs, keep the Bears down to 175, 180, I think they'll fancy that. Here comes Brown again. Hoyt over extra cover. That's a handsome shot from Bethel, and it will get him 4 runs. His first boundary. Moves 6. Hugely talented young player, Jake Bethel, and spotted the half volley there and cleared the extra cover fielder comfortably. 154 for 5.
They play without fear, don't they, these young players? That's what's so great to see. I mean, I think Dan Mosley's played really well today. 34 off 23. They have lacked a kind of experienced player coming in and playing the dominant role like Sam Hain has done so many times. But these young lads, they show no fear. They come in with real purpose, and that's a good start from Bethel.
6 from 3 he has as he waits for Pat Brown and lifts this one over mid-off for 4. Mid-off is up. Bethel had spotted that and cleared him comfortably, and that's a glorious shot from Jake Bethel. And these two players have got a bit of history. They really announced themselves onto the big stage 3 years ago. It was in a one-day game at York, a 50-over game, where these two almost chased down a big total. I think it might even have been Bethel's debut. It was 17, I think, at the time. But my word, as you say, Frank, they play without fear. Here comes Brown again. This is short, and that's going to be a wide, and that's disappointing from Pat Brown. Went for the slower ball, but it faded away down the leg side.
I mentioned earlier that Pat Brown, who's made his name really 3-4 years ago as a tremendous bowler at the death in T20 cricket, and then had injuries, and this year he's bowled some good spells at various times, but he's just struggled a little bit in these last 2 or 3 overs of each innings.
What can you do this time? It's short, clipped away by Bethel. He won't find the gap down on the deep mid wicket. Really well fielded by Kashif Ali in front of the marquee. They take 2. 161 for 5.
There's just no margin for error, isn't there? You're a little bit out, and you can, what can be a good over can end up being, in the space of 2 deliveries, a bad one.
Seamers again proving easier to get away, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think that there's not enormous pace, is there? So if the seamers drop short, then they are in trouble. Pat Brown to bowl his last delivery of this over, and he's slogged away to deep mid wicket, and they'll scamper quickly for 2, and they'll get them. Good running from Bethel. He takes 2, goes to 14. Dan Moseley has 34, and with 2 overs remaining, the Bears are 163 for 5.
Close of play at the Test match, with Australia seeing it through the 4 overs after England's declaration. 393 for 8 England, and Australia finishing 14 without loss.
Dylan Pennington is coming back into the attack to bowl the 19th over of the innings. So he, again, is not going to bowl a full 4. Gone for 21 so far off 2. Matthew Waite, 3 overs for 31. Mitchell Santner, 4 overs, no maidens, no wicket for 34. Pat Brown now 3 overs, no maidens, 1 for 32. Usama Mir, the pick of the Worcestershire bowlers, I think, not just in terms of his figures, but in all areas. 4 overs, no maidens, 3 for 22. And Brett D'Oliveira just the 2 overs, which have gone for 21. There's not been anything massive. No overs. What's the most we've had has been 13, I think. A couple of overs have gone for 13. But nothing huge yet. Pennington round the wicket, bowls, and down the pitch comes Moseley and hammers this one on the up. But he only gets a single, as Ed Pollock is patrolling the offside boundary in front of the ladies' pavilion. He returns to Ben Cox, and Mosley goes to 35 off 24 deliveries. Probably batted as well as anybody so far today. 164 for 5. Pennington round the wicket into bowl to Bethel, who gives him the charge and goes for the big hit on the leg side, but is beaten outside the, well, not outside the stumps, I think it went over the stumps in the end, and Ben Cox takes. So 10 deliveries left in the innings. 164 for 5. I said at the beginning that 180 been round about par for the last couple of years on this ground for T20s. There have been exceptions. That one has gone all the way, short from Pennington, and Bethel this time didn't come down the pitch. He stood still, he kept his head still, he saw the length early, and he absolutely smashed it flat over mid-wicket. Only just cleared the rope, but it only just has to, and that is Bethel's first 6. It takes him rapidly on to 20. He's only faced 8 deliveries. It's 170 for 5. Pennington in again round, and he goes for another big hit on the leg side. This time misses it, taken on the pad. The ball runs out on the offside. That was a real head up and heave, that one, but he didn't make contact. They got through for a single. 171 for 5. 8 balls left in the innings.
Bit tight on the cut-off.
Yeah, they'll just about do it, I think. 2 balls to get in, a couple of minutes. Pennington round the wicket, bowls down the pitch. Mosley straight down the ground for 6. That's a magnificent shot. It really is.
No, well, that's
Just
glorious.
walked into that, picked it up on the up. Beautiful, cracking shot straight down the ground. Mosley goes to 41. Take a minute or two to find it. Might make the cut off a bit closer. I think they might just sneak in. Umpires will be fairly lenient. There's one other ball they had to find that took a while as well. 177 for 5. Brilliant from Mosley. 41 off 25. He really is maturing into a fine young cricketer, the left-hander. Always had a fantastic attitude to the game, but a lot of skill as well, and putting the two together, turning out to be a brilliant performer for the Bears in all forms. Round the wicket, last ball of the 19th, Pennington to Mosley, down the pitch, clipped away, down the ground, 6 more. That's bigger than the one before. Brilliant from Mosley, absolutely brilliant. Pennington kicks the ground. He's gone for 12 off his last 2. That's the big over that they really wanted. And Dan Mosley has raced on to 47 off 26. The 183 is up. The 200 could now be on again. That was the over they needed. Brilliant from these 2 young batsmen. 1 over left, and the Bears in sight now of that elusive 200. 183 for 5.
Yes, 3 sixes in the over. That last one, I think, went halfway to Sasselberg. A gorgeous strike from Dan Mosley, who hasn't had a lot of the strike in the last few overs, but he's not let that affect him, and he's charged on to 47 from 26, 183 for 5. I think we could be in for an absolutely cracking evening's entertainment here. I think this is the full house crowd are lapping this up. It's really good, entertaining stuff, and this is going to be a target that stretches Worcestershire Rapids, but I think if they can keep it under 200, they'll fancy it.
36 off those last 2 overs, though. Just what the Bears needed, and just those final overs were, again, it's not the first time, it's not the second.
Didn't adjust it.
Slipped a little bit.
Didn't adjust. Saw him giving him the charge, Pennington, as Brown starts new over and carved an ugly looking shot, but effective in terms of they picked up 1-2 long on. For Pennington, 3 overs for 41, so going at 13.5 and over. That brings Mosley on strike, wearing 80 on the back of that yellow shirt, the yellow and blue shirt. Left-hander, he's got long on. That mid-off is up, got deep mid-wicket, deep backward square, deep cover, Brown comes round the wickets, gives him the charge again, but off a thick outside edge. D'Oliveira fields inside the circle. That's a backward point, just at the edge of the circle. So just one. 4 balls left in the innings, 185 for 5, 9.6 the run rate. Important 4 balls, you would feel, for the Rapids and for Pat Brown. Bethel, 22 from 10 for him on strike. Brown stays round the wicket, gives him the charge again. He's pulled this for 6. Again, they're not adjusting. He came down very early there, and Brown didn't make the adjustment he needed to, and that was pulled into the ladies' pavilion. Didn't get an awful lot of height on it, enough, but it's never going to be a catch. They drilled it into the pavilion. I'm not sure if that might have hit somebody, the spectator there, because he really did hit it with some venom. And if it did, that person will have an almighty bruise in the morning.
A scintillating shot, wasn't it? He reacted so quickly, came down the pitch, then the bowler dropped it a bit short, and Bethel just adapted so quickly. But my word, it was travelling at such a pace even when it hit the ladies' pavilion.
191 for 5 now, 3 balls left. Gives him the charge again, 4 more. Oh no, it's just about cleared Usama Mir, and he may pick it up inside the boundary. He does, and they're through for that 2 or 3. I thought he'd hit it cleanly over the head of Usama Mir at wide mid-off, but it just looks as though it died a little bit. And they're through for 2 more, 3 more in actual fact, because Owsley is now on strike. 48 for him, top score of the innings so far, so looking for that half century with 2 balls left. Expensive spell for Brown again. Gives him the charge, but straight to the fielder at wide mid-off. Usama Mir, so he will go on to 49 and remain on 49 because this is the last ball coming up.
A 50 partnership there in 18 balls.
Really
brilliant from these two.
It's possibly taken the game away from the Rapids. So they pulled it back well there at virtually 10 and over now. You feel a big game this for Ed Pollock opening the batting for the Rapids today, with Michael Bracewell having left. Brown is played to D'Oliveira at backward point, and they just pick up a single. So the end of the innings, Bethel moves on to 32, Mousley 49, and it's well, I think they'll be happy with that, the Bears. They were put in and they've made 196 for 5.
An intriguing game, it really is. I think both sides will be relatively happy with that. It was an innings that fluctuated, wasn't it? The Rapids pulled it back really well after a good strong start for the Bears, but then that last late partnership of 51 in 20 deliveries from Dan Mosley and Bethel. Mosley 49 not out from 26 balls. Jacob Bethel 32 not out from 13. Innings of many parts, cameos from Yates 28, Yates 27, Davis 28, Benjamin 34, Mosley 49 not out, Bethel 32 not out. So the Bears pulled together to make up for the absence of the big hitting Sam Hain, but super bowling from Usama Mir, 3 for 22 from his 4 overs. Frank, it's game on.
Yeah, absolutely game on. I think it's slightly
Welcome back to New Road. Perfect timing. The players are out in the middle. The two Rapids opening batters are there, Brett D'Oliveira and Ed Pollock, and they'll be chasing a score, a very difficult-looking score of 197. Chris Williams with you from BBC Hereford and Worcester alongside Frank Watson and Brian Holford here on the BBC with BBC CWR, BBC WM, and of course BBC Hereford and Worcester. And as I say, 197 is a very stiff target, and the Rapids will feel that they pulled things back nicely after the Bears had a good first power play, but the last 3 or 4 overs it got away from them, and that leaves them needing to score at almost 10 and over. And you feel the man that will have strike to the first delivery. This is a big game for him. Former Bears man Ed Pollock, who's back at the top of the order today, with Michael Bracewell having finished his stint with a big injury. And first delivery is driven, lovely shot through extra cover and to the boundary. Lovely way to get underway. That'll set him up nicely, the left-hander, and it was a proper cricket shot all along the ground.
Yeah, he'll feel a bit better, that's for sure. He's under a lot of pressure, I think, Ed Pollock. He's been struggling, but he's got a chance at the top of the order.
Hasan Ali, it is, bowling from the New Road end, and on leg stump, or just outside leg stump, and just flicked away for a single by Pollock. So he's up and running, 5 from his first 2 deliveries. But so I was saying, chaps, it just got away from the Rapids, and a really good final 3-4 overs by the Bears put them in probably giving them the upper hand at this stage.
He did indeed, and well though done, mostly played. 49 not out from 28. It was Jacob Bethel, wasn't it? 32 not out from 13 balls at the end that really injected that impetus and has given Rapids some serious batting to do here. An Ed Pollock cameo of the sort that the Bears benefited from quite a few times a few years ago could really give Rapids the platform they need.
Hasan Ali, wearing 32, runs away from us. Not the tallest, and this is played off a pad. Just a backward a square on the leg side, where it's fielded by Henry Brooks. And 1 more to the total, 6 without loss. Important power play, you feel, for the Rapids here. Need to try and get ahead of the rate without losing more than 1 wicket in an ideal world. Halfway through this first over, and pick up another run here. Plenty of time for Pollock to just get in line and play this backward of square, just steer it on the leg side. But it's been a disappointing campaign for Pollock so far, and you would have thought with him opening at the early part of the season in Championship cricket that he was tailor-made for the one-day game, but he went down to 6 and 7 and really just hasn't had enough time to get going. But he's got time at the top of the order today, as a big stretch outside the off stump by D'Oliveira to a wide delivery, and lost balance there because the ball was so wide, and David Milnes signals to the scorers, and that extra takes the score on to 8 without loss, with 2 balls left in this first over. D'Oliveira again, he's had the odd decent knock, but hasn't had the big score he's looking for so far this season. And here gets in line, this defensive drive back to the bowler, and there's no run. Now what we saw earlier on, of course, was the last ball of the over, certainly in the power play, was going to the boundary. Can D'Oliveira pick one up here? He's got to slip in, but orthodox first slip, and then be a 4th slip. Big gap between the two of them. And it gets wrapped on the pads again. Appeal from the bowler only. They come through for a leg by, and that's all they will get. End of the over. Decent start for the Rapids. Will be happy enough with that. No concerns for either Pollock or D'Oliveira. And that first over by Hasan Ali has yielded 9 runs.
Ed Pollock never got to play a red ball game for Warwickshire, of course. There were times when he's probably unlucky not to get the nod, but then I think he did coincide a little bit with when Dom Sibley and Will Rhodes were opening with very high effectiveness. But in white ball, he played some really destructive knocks. It was a bit feast or famine, but then I guess that's 2020, and especially the way Ed Pollock's role is built. But he's to be confronted by spin now. Glenn Maxwell from the Diglis end, chopped away. First of all, it's D'Oliveira who faces, just chops it away to point. Danny Briggs fields, and there's no run.
Wasn't in great control of that. D'Oliveira played it uppishly.
Here comes Maxwell again. D'Oliveira's down the pitch and just nurdles it away to mid-wicket.
The dilemma for the batsman. You open the bowling with a spinner. Worcestershire have done this with Bracewell quite a few times, not always very effectively, but the batsman is under pressure. He knows they're trying to get an over from the spinner through in the power play, so he feels under pressure to get after him, but at the same time he doesn't want to be the sucker and give a wicket away early on. So it's a bit of cat and mouse, isn't it, really?
Well, I have to say, spinners did by and large do for Ed Pollock during his time with Warwickshire, and they've done for him here, because he's chipped him straight to mid-off, and Ed Pollock, who can be so destructive against the seamers, doesn't really seem to fire against the spinners, and he's gone for 6. Didn't really get to the pitch of that, was trying to clear the long-off or the mid-off fielder and failed, and that's the early wicket that the Bears were after. Pollock goes for 6. Maxwell has struck in his first over. Rapids 10 for 1.
Yeah, the really annoying thing, I suppose, from Ed Pollock's point of view, is that that's the first ball he's received from the spinner. He hasn't even had a look at it. He's just kind of been drawn into it, and there wasn't much pace on it from Maxwell. But he's going to struggle to time it, should I say, if he's not really even had time to get used to the pace of the pitch. So very frustrating for Ed Pollock, who I think is probably struggling at the moment to know how to go about his game, really, I think. And that doesn't help the Rapids. 10 for 1, Jack Haynes, the new man.
Just 51 runs in 8 innings for Ed Pollock in the Blast last season. He's such a lovely lad. You only want him to do well, don't you? But he really is in a bit of a form crisis at the moment. Dan Mosley it was who took the catch, by the way, there at mid-off. Maxwell is coming in to try and add to that wicket. Haynes on the back foot chops it out to cover where Lintott fields. 10 for 1. Jack Haynes, 169 runs behind him in the format this season. Was that a dropped chance? I'm not sure. They've scampered a run, so we'll know if it's a signal to buy, and it's not. It's a run, so that was, I think, it was a difficult chance that Alex Davis didn't take. A very, very difficult chance it would have been, but it is a single, so Jack Haynes is off the mark. Maxwell has started extremely well. Around the wicket to the right-handed D'Oliveira, who cramps him on, and that one thumps into the pad, and another dot ball.
He's firing it through, isn't he?
So yeah. 1 run off the over. I'm just going to have a look now and see if that was a drop catch, watching that replay. No, I think he got a bottom edge onto Davis's boot, actually. I think it would be harsh as a member of the wicketkeepers union to call that one a drop catch. What an over that was. 2 off it.
Yeah, they had nothing to play with there, did it? And that last one really fired it through and tucked up D'Oliveira.
2 off the over in the power play and a wicket. Henry Brooks coming on from the New Road end. Very tall Henry Brooks, about 6'4", quite pacey. Excellent white ball bowler. Not a bad red ball bowler, loaned out briefly earlier this season to Derbyshire in the Championship, but he's a bear at heart, that I do know. Brooks is in and bowls, and this one's down the leg side, and Haynes is gone, strangled down the leg side. Absolute disaster for the pairs, and nothing delivery from Brooks. Just a loosener really down the leg side. Haynes inside it, looking to flick it away, and got the faintest of tickles, and caught down the leg side by a delighted Alex Davis. And some nights it's your night, and Henry Brooks might well feel that tonight is one of them, because that could easily have gone for 4. Instead, Jack Haynes is out for 1, and the pairs are in real trouble, 11 for 2.
Well, there's a certain trudge that batters have, isn't it, when they've been strangled down the leg side? It's the holding the bat halfway up and sort of disbelief, because that was really, as you say, a nothing delivery, and a tickle would have been 4 easy runs. But fair play to Alex Davis, he took the catch well, and the Bears have made a terrific start here as Adam Hose takes guard. Now this will be fascinating. Adam Hose at the heart of the Bears batting lineup last year and for several previous seasons in the Blast, now opposing them. How he would love to play a match-winning knock tonight.
And he's been at the heart of the Pairs' batting effort in this competition so far this season, very much so. A great acquisition. Came to New Road because of the opportunity to play red ball, and he's also done well in that. Brooks in, 2 in bowls, and Hose is off the mark, pushing this one up to mid-on. A well-judged single, as Hasan Ali had to come in quite a long way from mid-on. But a great start for the Bears as they attempt to prevent the Rapids from scoring 197 for victory. A target that was probably 15 or so more than we thought they were going to get at around about the 15 over stage, thanks to that excellent partnership between Bethel and Mousley. A run here for D'Oliveira as he clips this next one from Brooks off his pad square on the leg side. Henry Brooks got a bit of pace, as I say. Younger brother Ethan, also on the staff at Warwickshire. Older brother Ben, no longer on the staff, I don't think, Brian, but also a seam bowler. 3 brothers. I used to play with their dad, and I'm afraid I have to admit, I used to play with their granddad as well when I was a kid. Here's Henry in again, bowl short, Hose pulls that away on the leg side. Beautiful shot. Deserved probably more than the single that it brought in, but he picked out the fielder on the leg side boundary under the chestnut tree in front of the hospitality marquee. Onto it very quickly, Hose. Sees the length early. I've always thought that's one of his great strengths. We often say that about good white ball players, but really quickly onto that. He's on to 2, 14 for 2. Brooks in, D'Oliveira goes for the little ramp and plays it beautifully. Clever batting from Brett D'Oliveira. Made a little move back as if he was going to do that, then moved back inside. It's kind of double bluff footwork, and Brooks fell for it a little bit, took a bit of pace off, I think, and also just dropped it a little bit short. D'Oliveira just eased it over short fine leg. Knew the fielder was up inside the circle. Clever white ball batting from D'Oliveira. Worcestershire needed it. 6 to D'Oliveira, 18 for 2. Brooks in again, bowls, and he hammers this one off the front foot. Henry Brooks over-correcting, over-pitching. Successive boundaries for D'Oliveira, much needed for the Rapids, who after 3 overs are 22 for 2. If we've seen anything this year in the Rapids batting, it is that they won't stop playing shots and go into their shells because they've lost early wickets. They did that last year, and they felt that it was a failing when they analysed their white ball cricket last season, which wasn't good. They felt that that was a failing, and what we've seen this year is that even when under pressure, they've kept playing shots. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. 22 for 2 off 3.
Yeah, well, you'd feel one of these two has got to make a lot of runs if they're to get home today, because the batting to come, although they're only 2 wickets down, Kashif Ali, Ben Cox, Usama Mir, who's probably batting quite a high, Mitch Satner, Dylan Pennington, Pat Brown, Matthew Waite will bat higher than he's down on the scorecard, but yeah, you could expect some of those to knock it around a bit, but the big runs are going to come from one of these two if they're to get home. Here, Hose picks up a run, first ball of the over, which is being bowled by Dan Mosley.
He's such an optimist, Chris.
No, I mean it is because you need big run. They need to score 10, but someone has got to score.
Somebody's got to get a big one.
Yeah, you've got to be 85 plus for them to win this game. You would feel, because you can't see within the batting lineup enough that they can score quickly and big over the period. As this next delivery turned on the leg side, by D'Oliveira for 1. That's all they will get. He moves on to it, and that's not at all being negative. I think that's the reality of it. Is these are the two guys that can hit the big boundaries consistently.
Well, Kashif's done fairly well at Birmingham.
Yeah, I think he's. But you're looking for a big innings, aren't you? That's my point. A really big innings when you're looking at 10 and over, as Hose will pick up another single here. It's all tight stuff from Mosley at the moment. Out to deep mid-on.
You talk about the start, don't you, in both innings and how it sets the tone. I think, the way that Davis and Yates in particular started set the tone, and these early wickets have done the same, haven't they?
D'Oliveira sweeps, will pick up a single. Just Hasan Ali inside the circle at short fine leg, does the fielding.
The other thing is, when you bowl first, you do run the risk of showing the other team a little bit about the pitch, don't you?
Yeah.
And I think the Bears have seen that pace off might be the answer tonight.
Hose almost got done there. Think of a thick inside edge to backward square leg. No run there, but it wasn't in control. That horrible moment as a batter where you suddenly look back and see, have I played it on? But he got away with it. Still on 4, and drives the next delivery. 4-length ball out to deep mid-wicket. Come through for 2, and good running by Hose. He got there, not by a great deal, but he was always in control there, you felt, Adam Hose. Picks up 2 more at the end of the over. So 4 overs completed. The run rate at the moment is 7 and over, because they're 28 for 2, with Hose on 6 and D'Oliveira on 11.
Just 5 runs from Dan Mosley's first over. We've spoken about his batting quite a lot, of course, but he's become a very, very significant part of the Bears' bowling plan in this competition. And I spoke to him yesterday at length for an interview, and he was just saying how much confidence he's taken from being backed by Alex Davis and Mark Robinson. He knows that if he bowls okay, he's going to bowl his 4 overs. He's very much part of the plans, and that confidence is showing. We've got Hasan Ali back into the attack from the New Road end for the 5th over of this Rapids innings, and this one I think would have been a wide had Brett D'Oliveira just managed to reach it and paddle it out to point for a single. 29 for 2.
He just did well there, didn't he? The bowler saw him coming and dropped it short and had him stretching.
The Bears have got a battery of spinners ready to get twirling, but they're sticking with the seamers for now. Here comes Hasan Ali in the Worcester sunlight, chopped away for 4 to third man. That's a fine shot from Adam Hose, given a bit of width, just threw the hands at it, and a player of Hose's strength and time, and you could see him getting a 6 over third man at some point this evening, but that was just 4. He'll be happy with that.
Yeah, he was in control, wasn't he? Big gap. Just had to get enough on it.
There is a fly slip for that sort of shot. Here comes Hasan Ali again. Good straight delivery, which turns Hose round, but he squeezes the ball up to mid-on for a single.
Just had a look at the replay of that Jack Haynes one. It's one of those where he absolutely just has every right to feel cheesed off. The ball's a long way down the leg side. He's just looked to flick it. You get any kind of thick edge on it and you get 4, and he's just done the opposite. I mean, just one of those things, it really is. And people look in the book and think caught behind for 1, or
things just not going his way at the moment, are they? Just looking for that big innings,
to
get back on the horse. Started the season well, but it's just fallen away a little bit.
And as you say, Chris, somebody needs to play a big innings for the Rapids tonight now, don't they? Hasan Ali is in again, and that's gloriously driven for extra cover for 4 by Brett D'Oliveira. Picked the gap nicely. Maxwell dived in vain. Another 4 to Brett D'Oliveira, who is looking, I reckon, in rather good nick, fellas.
Yeah, we've seen batsmen look as though they're timing it well against the seamers, haven't we?
Yeah.
Really, in both innings. Not so much against the spinners.
And again, Brett's looking for that big innings, hasn't he? He's had some decent knocks, but not the big one he's been looking for.
He waits as Hasan Ali comes in, bowls on a leg stump, just tucked away to the leg side. They'll think about 2 as Mosley charges in from the Ladies Pavilion, and they just take a single. The Ladies Pavilion, which I think may have a significant dent in one of its walls, because that 6 that Jacob Bethel hammered into it in the closing overs, my word, that was travelling. Luckily, I think it missed all the spectators, but something would have taken some damage from that, because that was travelling like a rocket. Here comes Hasan Ali. This one's down the leg side, and that is, whereas Jack Haynes was caught down the leg side tickling, that is tickled just a little bit wider, and it brings 4 runs to Adam Hose. A welcome boundary for the Rapids after 5 overs. They're 43 for 2.
Yeah, 15 coming off that over, and as you say, that's just the difference between when your luck's in and when your luck's not in. What happened there? I always used to say, we're talking about being a coach before, I always used to say to young players that sort of thing that's happened to Jack Haynes, and as you say, Chris, he's looking at the moment, looking for a bit of luck, looking for a break. You get something like that happen, just reminds you of why cricket is such a test of character, isn't it? You can almost do nothing wrong and find that your innings is ended. Here's Mousley from the Diglis end, bowls D'Oliveira down the pitch, drives him straight down the ground, 1 bounce 4. Good shot from D'Oliveira. It goes to 21, 47 for 2 in the 6th, last over of the power play. You can be given out when you're not out. You can be run out when it's not your fault. All of these things can happen, and your day can be over. You can work and practice all week, and you find that, and it's such a test of character.
It is, because I was listening to somebody the other day and said you'll have more bad days than good days.
Definitely.
And if you're going into
unless you're Adam Hose. Here's Mousley from the Diglis end, bowls faster, quicker. D'Oliveira drives 4 more. Good shot from D'Oliveira. Can you understand why Mousley did what he did? Hit down the ground, having given the previous delivery a bit of air, fired that one through, but D'Oliveira waited, set himself, and smashed it through the covers. So successive boundaries at the start of the over. What we've seen from Worcestershire recently is that they've sometimes given wickets away after having a good start when they don't need to. So I'm pleased to see D'Oliveira to this next ball just get in behind it and push it away on the onside for a single. I say I'm pleased as a Worcestershire man. I hope I'm not coming across as biased and just trying to appreciate good cricket from both sides, as are we all here. Very much aware tonight that our commentary is going out on BBC Radio WM and CWR as well. Hose drives a full flat delivery from Mousley up to long on. Takes 1 more. Hose goes to 16 off 10. D'Oliveira is 26 off 17. The 2 men out. Pollock for 6 and Haynes for 1. And it's 53 for 2 with 2 balls left in the power play. Mousley from the Diglis end. Faster, quicker, shorter. And D'Oliveira on the back foot just turns it away on the leg side and takes another single. So having taken boundaries off the first 2 balls, no need for heroics in the rest of the over. 1 ball left in the power play, 54 for 2. The Bears power play was 58 for 1. So not a huge amount of difference, provided this ball doesn't yield a wicket. Mousley into Hose, drives up to long on for a single. Power play ends 55 for 2, the Rapids. And remember, the target is 197.
Yes, just thinking of Jack Haynes and the little spell he's going through now. I mean, maybe he should put a call into Dom Sibley, because I recall just after Dom joined Warwickshire his first full season, he went through the first few months of that season, he was getting out all sorts of ways. He got sawn off, he fell to a brilliant catch, he chipped it up to mid-wicket, and Dom was just wondering where the next run would come from. By the end of the following season, he was in the England team, and that is the real, one of the beauties of cricket. It's such a test of character, isn't it?
It is, and it's one of the things, as I say, if you're going to have more bad days than good days, that you have to tell them at a reasonably early stage, so they can develop that mental toughness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Danny Briggs to start a spell from the New Road end. It's cut away by Hose for 1. They'll come back for a second. Might even get 4. He does get 4, despite the dive on the boundary. Way in the distance. Well, where's he fielded? That to me looked like 4. The fielder says he doesn't know. Well, he must know.
Crowder.
He must know.
Crowder telling him.
A noble man of Warwickshire would never seek to take an advantage of.
Well,
It's Ed Belmont as well. The umpires. There are times where you don't know the crowd, but I doubt the crowd are going to know either. The covers are in the way, aren't they? They can't really see. No, I don't think so.
So 2 it's going to be. I think they're on the radio, but I don't know what use that's going to be unless it shows anything. No, we're carrying on. So 2. There's D'Oliveira. Looks to use his feet. We'll pick up 1. He's driving through pointers. Cheers for the fielder.
You're saying, Chris, about how you've got to make these players realise early that it's a tough game and you're going to have more bad days. I bet you were terrible with your lad in the back garden, weren't you? Hey, I bet you, get out, you are out. You're not getting a second chance.
Yeah, teach him young. Hose pulls in his delivery to deep backward square leg. They'll pick up 1. Got plenty on that. 59 for 2. The 50 for the Rapids came up just 1 ball slower than the Bears 50. They had lost a couple of wickets though. Important partnership you feel here. There's a little leading edge there from D'Oliveira as he drives the ball past
that's one of them.
Past the bowler Briggs, and the hose just collided with Briggs there, and they didn't know whether to take the single or not. But well,
you'd have taken a single in your back garden.
I'll tell you what, I'd have been back for 3 there.
I would have taken that one, to be honest. I don't think he did anything wrong.
Next delivery is 4 defensive from Hose, so it's good tight stuff.
Well, if this match does end in a 1-run, that Ed Barnard piece of fielding could be revisited.
And the wicket with Briggs cut away again. Down to Barnard, who will get the jeers again. And restricts them to 1. And the end of the over, 7 overs completed. The run rate is up at 8.9. The required rate from here is 10.4. They still need 135 to win. The Rapids are 66 for 2 with Hose on 22 and D'Oliveira on 29.
A promising partnership developing here. The Rapids were in a bit of a pickle at 11 for 2 after Ed Pollock gave it away a little bit against the spinners, 8 for 6, and then Jack Haynes strangled down the leg side, much to his anguish. Caught Davis Brooks for 1. And now here's an interesting one. Jake Lintott, who's been tearing it up around the world, not just for the Bears in the Blast, but in various franchises with his left arm wrist spin for the last 2 or 3 years. But this year, his form deserted him so much that he was left out by the Bears. Well, now he's back in, and he's about to start his spell from the Douglas end. 62 for 2. Can Jack Lintott regain his control and his magic? He starts with a straight delivery, which is pushed up to a long on by Adam Hose for a single.
Yeah, I'll be looking for something to boost his confidence early on, won't he? Things nice and tight, or pick up a wicket, doesn't matter how it comes.
Absolutely, Chris. And what's been very interesting to see is he comes in again, and it's a little bit short, and D'Oliveira chops it away to deep cover, another single, is that the county cricket scene being the ruthless environment it is, teams have been very quick to get at Jake Lintott. They've been coming down to him in the first couple of balls and trying to hit him big, and they know that his confidence isn't what it once was. Here he comes again, left arm over the wicket. Hose strokes it elegantly, but too long on just for a single. Lintott, I think, will be happy with this. 3 singles from his first 3 deliveries.
I said earlier on that the Worcestershire fielding isn't probably, it's not the best Worcestershire fielding team that we've seen over the years. It's not bad, but it's not real top notch.
Lintott is in again. Good delivery. D'Oliveira down the track, but can't do anything with it. Just pushes the ball into the covers where Robbie Yates fields sharply. No run.
Earlier in this over, we saw Maxwell get onto the ball and so quickly onto it, and the throw was away so quickly and straight into the hands.
Lintott again swept by D'Oliveira for a single. I think of an overthrow, but it's not going to be there as Henry Brooks is backing up. And this is a solid start from Jake Lintott.
Yeah, just what he was looking for.
Absolutely, no boundaries yet. Will Adam Hose go big from this last delivery of the over? He doesn't. just strokes it up to long on. A quiet over, which is just the way Jake Lintott and the Bears would want it. 8 overs gone. The Rapids, chasing 196 for 5, are 67 for 2.
And the Bears were 70 for 2, so pretty much neck and neck in that respect. The difference, I would say, is that the Bears will hope that their bowlers towards the end of the innings will have a little bit more control than we saw. Worcestershire were very expensive, conceding 49 of the last 3 overs of that Bears innings. Danny Briggs will continue from the new row end. Left arm round the wicket goes to Hose, and Hose, well, agricultural to be fair. Adam Hose is a graceful player at best. That was a very effective shot as he came down and basically slogged it over mid-wicket for 4. Sort of shot you see on the village green. 4 runs nonetheless off the first ball, which is good news for the Rapids. And this next one from Briggs is short and hammered away off the back foot by Hose for a single, 72 for 2. I agree with you, Chris, about the fielding, but having said that, in the first 4 games of the season, when Worcestershire won those games, the fielding was outstandingly good, I thought. In particular, Hose and Pat Brown. Briggs bowls and D'Oliveira repeats the shot, the previous ball that Hose played. Barnard gets the boos again from the crowd out there following his earlier potential misdemeanour, and it's 73 for 2.
Yeah, I'm talking about
confidence.
the unit.
Yeah, absolutely. Briggs round the wicket, bowls, and Hose drives up to long on where Moseley fields. There's certainly there was one Yorkshire last Friday. The fielding was dreadful. It was a terrible performance. It was a bit like some of the ones last year, and the players, by their own admission, felt that they were collectively guilty of a poor fielding effort. 74 for 2. Briggs in, bowls. D'Oliveira goes for a big swing on the leg side, misses it. He might have got something on it, just off the glove or off the splice, and paddled away to short fine leg. Diving save there, and they get through for a single. 75 for 2. Just 1 ball left in the 9th. Good over from Briggs. Boundary needed. Hose drives, doesn't get a boundary, gets a single. End of the 9th over. 76 for 2, and 9 coming off that over. 4, of course, off the first ball, and Hose has 32. D'Oliveira has 33. And this is a good partnership developing. So far, they've added 65 for this 3rd wicket.
A steady start by Adam Hose, but Warwickshire's fans will recall with wistful nostalgia that he can suddenly go ballistic. And when that happens, matches tend to be won by the side that he's playing for. Adam Hose is, he scored a century. He's actually the only man to score 2 blast centuries for the Bears.
One of them was against the Pears.
Indeed so. Very destructive player.
Big match up here, Hose and Maxwell, and Hose pulls the first delivery out to deep mid-wicket. There comes through for 2. Good fielding by Ed Barnard. That's the last thing he would have wanted today, was to actually do anything that would kind of get the crowd onto him after leaving for...
I think he'll be quite enjoying it, Chris, secretly.
Yeah, but of all the people that it could have happened to, he didn't need it really. As Maxwell's next delivery, Hose drives for 1 to deep mid on. What they have to be mindful of is, whereas we can look at the scores and say it's pretty even Stevens at the moment. It's those last overs where it got away, so they can't be thinking that way. They've got to get ahead of it, ahead of the game, because they're already up to 11.1, the required rate. Field well spread. The long on, deep mid-wicket, deep square leg, deep cover. Maxwell round the wicket. Used the feet by D'Oliveira in the end. Just drives comfortably out to deep mid-on. Long on coming off the boundary to field. That's Jacob Bethel down there. Good knock from him earlier on. Not out innings as Hose doesn't middle the next one. Pull out to Barnard down at deep mid-wicket again, and they're not letting it go over there, and a bit of the old jungle juice has probably made them a little bit more lively as well. That's it. Barnard's strong character, he's been around enough. Reverse sweep in the air from D'Oliveira. He's got to be safe. He's got to get hits. Again, don't think he nibbled it. I think he got a top edge on it. There was a fielder out there. But instead of being on the boundary, he'd come in probably about 10 yards. If he was on the boundary, he would have taken the catch. But more runs to D'Oliveira, more runs to the Rapids. It's 87 for 2.
Fantastic shot.
I think that fielder should be back on the rope. He's still not. He's still in about 10 yards. As D'Oliveira, it's a thick outside edge. The next delivery, he'll only get one. It's fielded there by Brooks. I think if it was on the rope, he would have taken that, but he wasn't. And we reached the halfway point with the Rapids needing a total of 197 to win. They're 188 for 2 with Hose on 36, D'Oliveira on 41. They came together with the score on 11 for 2, so good partnership, 77 so far. Need to keep that going then. The run rate at the moment is 8.8. The required rate, 10.9.
Yeah, the Rapids could do with one big over, couldn't they, in the next 2 or 3? Because when you are chasing 10 or 11 and over, then every time you don't get that, it just clicks up a little bit, and all of a sudden the run rate can escalate quite quickly. But this should be interesting. It's the man of the moment, Ed Barnard.
They're slightly ahead, I think, the Rapids on comparison. 88 for 2 at halfway, as opposed to 90 for 3. So, but we did say at the same time that the Bears needed a couple of big overs, didn't we?
We did, and they got them eventually. Barnard starts with a leg side delivery, which D'Oliveira flicks away to mid-wicket. Yes, the Bears' big overs came very late, didn't they?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And as I think, as you said earlier on, Frank, is when you're batting first, it's sometimes easy to bring those big overs in late on because there's not scoreboard pressure, is there? But there is that pressure on the Rapids at the moment. This is short, pulled away, and Barnard has the wicket. Hose has gone, caught at deep mid-wicket. I think it's Glenn Maxwell out there. And that's a huge blow struck by the Bears. Hose goes for 36. I think he will feel he should have pulled that short ball into the crowd. He didn't get quite enough on it. Well taken there on the deep mid-wicket boundary. And as Chris was saying, one of these two players really the Rapids would look to for a match-winning innings required. It's not going to be Adam Hose. He's gone for 36.
Yeah, big wicket. It wasn't a great delivery from Ed Barnard, but I suppose it was, if you like, because it produced that crucial wicket. When I say it wasn't a great delivery, it wasn't, it's not nipped away and taken the outside edge. It was a little bit short, but he maybe just took the pace off it and maybe it just stopped a little bit in the service. Certainly, Adam Hose, as you say, didn't really get hold of it. And it was quite a comfortable catch for Glenn Maxwell, flat, and he hit it quite hard, but a player of his experience and capability was never going to drop that. And big moment, the X-pair gets the X-bear. It's 89 for 3, halfway through the 11.
Yeah, I think they'll... I got the impression with those two together, they were happy to just keep picking up the runs as they were, and I was about to say, once one of them goes, I think the other one might have to start getting after it. So we shall soon see. All those Mitchell Sutner's had a good knock recently, can clear the ropes.
Well, he's got 4 T20 50s in his locker behind him. He needs to find another one here, and almost goes first ball. That's just falling short of point, and he's almost run out as well, but he survives both. And it's a dot ball. One of the most exciting dot balls ever.
Yeah, did his best to get out, didn't he? He gave him a good chance. He was scrambling to get back.
Yes, I think the ball just dropped a little bit short of the fielder, and Santner was preoccupied with that and it just wandered out of his crease. He waits again as Barnard comes in, plays this back to the bowler. Very satisfactory start this so far for Ed Barnard. And just one over like this, just a single so far from 4 balls. When you're chasing 11 and over, this will seriously escalate that run rate. The Rapids need to find 1 or 2 big blows. But that's a lot to ask of a guy who's just come to the crease, as Santner has. He rocks back to this one and fires it out to deep extra cover. Lintott fields, and there's a single. 2 runs and a wicket from Barnard's first 5 balls.
Their required rate's pushing up to 12 now.
Barnard, what a long run for the pace he bowls at. In he comes from the new road end to finish his over and is crisply driven by Brett D'Oliveira, who looks in excellent nick, and he's batting as well as a man needs to if he's going to win this game for his side, but he needs to do it for a lot longer yet. He's on 43. The Rapids are 91 for 3, still needing 105 with 9 overs left.
Yeah, it's almost neck and neck. 93 for 3 the Bears were off 11. I know I keep saying the comparison. You do that, don't you? But as Chris Williams keeps pointing out, it's dangerous to go that way when the other team had a brilliant finish to the innings, because you're sort of saying you've got to match that and you don't want to leave it that late. But it's Jake Lintott to continue. Is it me? Yep. Yeah, Jake Lintott from the Diglis end. Bright sunshine. The crowd are enthralled. It's a gripping game. He bowls to D'Oliveira, who just flicks this away on the onside. They'll take 1. They won't come back for 2. They'll be tempted. But no, Barnard too quick coming off that mid-wicket boundary, as he did so many times in a Pears shirt previously in his career. And very kind of him to wear the same number as he always did for the Pears. So when you see the number 30 as he turns around, you know who it is. Quite a few players do that, don't they? They move counties and keep the same number. Obviously maybe some sort of superstition involved, I don't know. Mitchell Santner just, there's a pause here. Not quite sure what the pause is for.
I think they're just cutting a bit off the ball.
So cutting maybe the seams come apart. Are they kookaburras, these white balls? I'm never quite sure. They were at one time. Because at the next round of county championship red ball games, we're going to use kookaburras, aren't we? Interesting experiment. Will be Derbyshire here at New Road. Mitchell Santner taking guard. Jake Lintott will stay over the wicket with his left arm wrist spin to the left-handed New Zealander, Santner, who stands tall in the crease and waits now as Lintott bowls. He's down the pitch, makes it into a full toss, hits it over extra cover, only just over extra cover, but sufficiently to find the boundary out towards the cathedral. A vain attempt by Rob Yates at short extra to catch it. He landed awkwardly. He's hurt his shoulder, I think, just stretching that out now. But 4 to Santner, his first boundary, goes to 5, 96 for 3. Lintott again bowls, better delivery, drops on a length. Santner just pushes it out behind square on the offside for a single. 97 for 3 the Rapids. 100 more needed. And that has to come at a run rate which is getting pretty close to 12 now. Lintott is in. D'Oliveira is down the pitch, driving in the air on the offside. Past the diving Yates again at short extra cover. Henry Brooks, imposing figure, races round the boundary on the offside, and Fields, they take just a single. 98 for 3. Worcestershire could do with one big over, couldn't they, just to sort of change the momentum a little bit. It's just dying a little bit at the moment, which is good news for the Bears. Lintott into the left-handed centre balls. He's down the pitch and arrests his progress down the pitch, because Lintott saw him coming, well bowled it flatter and quicker, and Santner had to stop his progress and then chopped it away on the offside, but could only pick out Briggs at backward point. No run. Well bowled by Jake Lintott. Good over. 1 ball left. From the Diglis end, he's in. It's short. Santner whips it away on the onside, but he doesn't find the boundary. Straight to Maxwell out at deep mid-wicket. Just a single. Another very tidy over. 8 runs coming from it, which is very good going at this stage. And off 12 overs, the Rapids are on 99 for 3.
Jake Lintott 2 overs for 13. He's returning in a manner that suggests his confidence in his form might be back, which would really augur well for the Bears for the rest of this campaign. Ed Barnard 1 over 1 for 3. What a return to his former club for him. And Danny Briggs now returns to the attack. And
I think from a Rapids point of view, they're at the stage now where they've got to start throwing things at it. There's Santner's been there for 7 balls, not a great deal, but he's certainly going to have to do that, because at any over that's under 12 now, and it's just pushing the required rate up as the first delivery is driven to Maxwell at long off. They just can't afford to slip any further behind on that with that rate. So it's important that if D'Oliveira is on 45, if he's the man that's going to be there at the finish, then the others have got to be doing it from the other end. Well, he went for a big one there, did D'Oliveira. Played a little bit too early. Good ball from Briggs and taken by Davis behind the stumps. Standing up close in the yellow helmet. Maxwell's gone to deep mid-wicket, which is where D'Oliveira was looking. Good adjustment by the bowler there, because he gave him the charge and just pushed it a little bit wider. D'Oliveira did well as well, because he adjusted his footwork to steer it to deep backward point and pick up 2 runs. Good cricket all round that. D'Oliveira on to 47 from 34. Just 4 extras in the innings so far. That required rate now pushing towards 13. Still needing 95 to win. Looking at changing the ball here, the 2 umpires. Hardly in a hurry, I would add. Just ambling their way towards the boundary, waiting for a box of new ones to come on, or balls that be around the 12 over mark. Drinks coming on for the 2 batters, and no doubt a message coming out from coaching staff as well, although these 2 are experienced enough not to need any advice. I think they know what's required from here.
And still to come, Kashif Ali, Ben Cox, Usama Mir. Not sure of his batting prowess.
He can bat.
But as you say, Chris, I think earlier on, you could expect bits and pieces from them. Ben Cox is a fine player, isn't he?
Yeah, I would imagine he'd come next.
The others, you wouldn't want to be leaving too much to do.
A new ball. We're carrying on with next ball turned onto the leg side by D'Oliveira for 1. Maxwell comes flying in off the boundary to field, loses his glasses as he throws the ball into the wicket-keeper. They only pick up 1 though, and every time they're not picking up 2 a ball, that required rate pushes up. 94 to win from 7.2 overs. Briggs over the wicket. It's in the air. That'll go for 6. A lovely shot from Satner. That was an orthodox shot. Used his feet, drove through the ball, straight past the bowler into the New Road stand, and a much-needed 6. He moves on to 14. It's 109 for 3.
It's a mighty blow. Another one needed.
That's ball of the over, Briggs, and driven off the bottom of the bat by Satner there, straight to the fielder, no run, and they got that one all wrong. A horrible, dull sound as it came off the toe of the bat. End of the over, 109 for 3, with Satner on 14 and D'Oliveira on 48. Still needing 88 to win. Guess what?
109 for 3. Plays 109 for 3.
You wouldn't make it up, would you?
Yeah.
Now, have the Rapids got the sort of late
Well, it was
all the
2
fireworks?
2 youngsters as well, when you think about it, wasn't it? Who
Yeah.
did the damage. But absolutely neck and neck on 13 overs.
But at the moment, the game is slipping away from the Rapids. They need a really emphatic over 20-something to get them back into a degree of control. Lintott is in, and this is chipped by D'Oliveira. Up too long off, bounces way in front of the fielder. And there is a single, and you would think that Mitchell Santner might have some lofty ambitions in this over. No, he needs to find the crowd.
I think he's got licence here now.
Here comes Lintott, and Santner smacks it straight. Was it 6? No, it just bounced just a few inches inside of the rope. But absolutely straight hit. Fine shot from Santner. 4 runs.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He's just got to go for it. D'Oliveira's in the other end. Wicket still to come. It's just a free licence to go from here. If you're out, you're out.
Here comes Lintott again. Back on the back foot, Santner just slaps it out to deep extra cover, where Barnard does not field because he wasn't there. Mosley fields, and now Barnard returns to his position at that side of just in front of his newfound fans, in front of the cathedral. Not quite the Holly.
Really. He lives in that part of the city, I think.
That's true. Lintott in again, outside off stump, good line, and De Oliveira pays it up for his 50th run from 37 deliveries. A really accomplished innings from Brett De Oliveira, but now he needs to take it on and probably need to start scoring a little bit quicker than 50 from 37. The Rapids are still sliding behind the rate. They need another boundary in this over. Lintott is in. Good delivery, right up in the block hole, on the off stump, and all Santner can do is collect a single to mid-off. Well bowled, Jake Lintott.
Yeah, need a boundary here, the Rapids.
They badly need a boundary.
Over.
It's a relatively short straight boundary. Here comes Lintott. And he's got him stumped. And that really, you would think, is a huge blow and perhaps the fatal blow. De Oliveira danced down the track, was stumped by so far it was almost a run out. Davis took off the bails. Lintott has his first wicket. He deserves it. De Oliveira goes for 50, and the Rapids now are in deep trouble. 117 for 4, needing 80 from 6 overs.
Yeah, absolutely right. In deep trouble. Well bowled, Jake Lintott. The rehabilitation of Jake Lintott continues. 3 overs. No maidens, 1 for 21, his figures. Good stuff from him. And Kashif Ali is the new batsman. Brett De Oliveira trudges away, head down. Played well, made 50 off 38 balls, but it comes to, well, it's kind of measure of the way the game's changed. If you say that somebody who's made 50 off 38 balls needed to score more quickly, but that's the case. Santner's on 20 off 13. The sun's gone. It's got a little bit gloomy out there. And the Bears are on top. Dan Mosley will come back into the attack. First ball for him at the New Road end of the ground. 6 overs left. And the run rate is over 13. Glenn Maxwell just trying to ascertain from Alex Davies where he wants him. Giving his arms a big wave, asking, does he want to be on the rope? In the end, he's decided, yes, he does want to be on the rope. And Mosley round the wicket to the left-handed Santner. It's short, and Santner plays a lovely looking back foot drive for a single out to Lintott on the cover boundary, and Kashif comes on to strike. A young man, fairly inexperienced. He's played some good knocks, but pretty awful time to come in, isn't it? Needing 13 and over. He'll give it his best shot. He's capable of clearing the ropes, no doubt about that. And what's particularly going to please Chris is that he's got his black shoes on.
Oh, he has. Borrowed pads.
Takes guard now. Mosley just changing the field a little bit, moving his long leg a little bit squarer by the one remaining chestnut tree. Bowls to Kashif, who drives nicely up to long one, but singles are absolutely fine as far as the Bears are concerned.
And this is the point I was making earlier on. Where we had a good stand between Hose and De Oliveira, but they didn't get ahead of the game, which puts the pressure on these batters now.
Yeah. And Mosley fires this one in. Santner cut, but straight to the fielder at backward point.
And that was the point I was trying to make, is they come in now. You're asking so much from a couple of them.
Mosley in. Santner plays. It's a magnificent shot. I've seen him do it before. Goes on the back foot and hits it over extra cover. It wasn't 6. I don't care what the fans are saying down in front of us. I watched it really closely. It bounced about 6 inches inside the rope. And that's just cheating. If those fans are saying it was 6,
definitely
it
4.
Wasn't.
Definitely
and
4.
It was a lovely shot though. Really, really cleverly played. Mosley again bowls faster, quicker, good Yorker, well bowled, and Santner can only squeeze it up to long on for a single. So he goes to 26, 124 for 4 with 1 ball left in the 15th.
I think the Bears bowlers have mixed it up a little bit better than Rapids.
Mosley over the wicket. Another good flat delivery, just punched up to long on where Bethel fields. So Kashif will keep the strike. He's on 2 off 2. And at the end of the 15th over, the Rapids are 125 for 4. And they require 14.4 and over now. And don't think it's going to happen. You never know.
Another very satisfactory evening's work for Dan Mosley so far. Super 49 not out. Really did change the game along with Jacob Bethel's superb cameo. Now Mosley 3 overs for 25, which in the context of this run chase is more than acceptable, and a good catch as well. So Dan Mosley's having a pretty decent night.
Glenn Maxwell coming back into the attack as it's all gone very cloudy overhead now. Yeah, let's see the last of the sun for the day, coming round the wicket, and Kashif swivels, pulls this out to deep mid-wicket for only a single though. And just talking about the bowling, well, only Usama Mir can really be happy with his figures of 3 for 22 from 4 overs. Everyone else was going at beyond 10, which was Wade, Pennington. Santner went for 34 in fairness to him for 4 overs. D'Oliveira 2 overs for 21. But Santner is on strike, 26 from 17. He's got to go big here, and he does. Straight to the fielder at long off. It's in the air, and he's taken the catch, and Santner goes, and you would feel that the Rapids' hopes go with him. He's gone for 26. The Rapids going down here at 126 for 5.
Yes, no option but to go for broke. It was that man Ed Barnard who's having a very happy return to his former home, but no criticism of Santner. He clubbed a glorious 6 over extra cover in the previous over, went for something similar, didn't get quite enough of it. Quite a tidy catch actually by Barnard, running in from the boundary, but you would think, as you say, Chris, that's the Rapids' hopes done and dusted. Although Ben Cox has damaged Warwickshire in the past with the bat, he's got to do something pretty spectacular in the next 20 minutes today, though.
It's your point, though, Chris. I think it's too much to do, isn't it? You know, yeah. Even if it was, if it's 11 and over for the last 5, you really feel you've got a chance. And of course, Worcestershire won that dramatic game against Yorkshire earlier this year, where they scored, 3 consecutive 6s in the last over, but. Just feel it's too much to do now for the 2 new batsmen.
Who was that, Frank? 3 successive 6s?
Well, 3 and 4, wasn't it? Adam Finch, in the last over of the game. Most unexpected.
Maxwell's swept by Cox, gone fine. Will be pulled up inside the boundary. Hasan Ali's after it, and it restricts them to 2. But 2s are no good at this stage, and that's no criticism. Ben Cox just been left with too much to do with a required rate at 15.5.
It was off Jordan Thompson, Brian, and no, we didn't expect it. I don't think anybody did, really.
Cox sweeps again in the air, lovely shot. It was a flat, it was in the air, but it was flat, and it went square of the wicket, and the further out there had no chance. So Cox has picked up 6 from 2 deliveries, and they need plenty of those if they're to get anywhere near here. 132 for 5, 65 still to win from under 5 overs. Maxwell wide of the crease, pulled it, it's all swept again by Cox, only for a single though. There's probably Barnard over there in the distance. Fields.
Was it Derbyshire, Brian, who scored 50, 60 off the last 5 or something against the Bears? Yeah, it can be done.
Next delivery. A sweep, an attempted sweep by Kashif Ali. He didn't appear to get anywhere near that. They appealed for a stumping as the bails were whipped off, but his back foot looked anchored to me and also anchored to the umpire. So the end of the 16th over, 16 and over required now, 64 from 4, with the Rapids 133 for 5. Cox on 7, Kashif on 3.
8 off each of the last 3 overs. Brilliant at this stage here in the field.
Yeah. Yes, perhaps the crucial phase of the innings was, as you suggested, Chris, when Adam Hose and Brett D'Oliveira that it was the biggest partnership of the innings and it was laying a platform, but that they never really seized control, did they? They just kept things ticking over, and the pressure that has left on these later batsmen is telling. 64 needed from 4. The Rapids need to invoke the spirit of Cedric Boynes to get over the line. As Hasan Ali,
One for the younger listeners.
comes in, and that starts with a Yorker, which Ben Cox can do nothing with. Super bowling and a single up to mid-on. Cedric Boynes would have smashed that over the pavilion.
Cedric Boynes was. I played with Cedric at Old Hill in the Birmingham League, and he was a fantastic cricketer and arguably one of the best fielders that Worcestershire have ever had at any level. He really was. But decided that school teaching was a better career than cricket, really. Fantastic all-round cricketer.
Here comes Hasan Ali outside the off stump, way outside the off stump, and wided, and that will be very welcome for the Rapids. But there is only one way they're going to win this match, and that is by clearing the ropes.
He was here last year. Cedric came back to the Old Players' Day last summer.
Is he still teaching, or is he
I
retired
think
now?
he's retired now, but he taught here at the Royal Grammar School in Worcester for a while, and then went off to Bloxham in the Cotswolds.
Oh, gorgeous. Here comes Hasan Ali, lifted down to long on, where Mosley takes a super catch. He's doing everything right today, Dan Mosley. Kashif Ali goes, a plucky attempt to hit Hasan Ali for 6, which is not an easy thing to do. Cedric Boynes probably would have done it, but unfortunately Kashif Ali didn't, and the Rapids now are in decline, 135 for 6.
Yeah, and it bears out the point I was making early on. These aren't these are good batters, but they're not the batters that are going to come out and score at this rate. It was up to Hose and D'Oliveira to get ahead of the game. It was a good partnership, but it wasn't a match-winning partnership. The only way it was going to be that way is if neither of them got out. And as soon as the one went, it put the pressure on the other. And these batters coming in now are not going to score at that rate for the period of time they need to. And if I'm wrong, I will hold my hands up, but I don't see it.
You're not wrong, Chris. No, absolutely.
Well, if you are proved wrong, somebody's got to do something which nobody in this ground is going to forget, because it would be quite an incredible batting feat for a late order batsman to come in under this pressure against international bowling. And Usama Mir is the gentleman who has that challenge, and he's going to face his first ball now from Hasan Ali, and he has a mow at it and misses, goes through to Alex Davis. So one of these sides was always going to take a big step forward towards qualification tonight. It looks like it's going to be the Bears, who are back on track after their 3-game losing sequence, and now the Worcestershire Rapids have got a little wobble to pull out of.
Yeah, won the first 4, lose the next 4. It's tough from there, I think. Big game on Sunday now.
Here comes Hasan Ali, and that's top-edged. An attempted pull by Usama. The ball lands about 2 metres away from the stumps, and it's another dot ball. 62 runs to win now from 20 deliveries. 3 and a bit a ball. Unlikely.
Yeah, and well, if we said 180 was par, then maybe we're now looking at it and thinking 180 would have been above par, because
No, I think it
they
was.
bowled really well, haven't they?
Yeah, they've bowled well. I think 180 wouldn't be above par. I don't think they've batted well, but I think the Bears have bowled well.
Yeah.
I think, as you suggested, Chris, earlier on, there were just 1 or 2 too many 4 balls, weren't there, from the Rapids. This is pulled by Usama Mir, and it's pulled for 6. I think it landed just over the rope. There's a little bit of a top edge in that, I think, but he got enough on it to get it over. The 2 fielders scrambling over there in the corner by the family stand. And is this the start of a miracle? Usama Mir off the mark with a 6. Another one of those, and maybe the Rapids fans will start believing. But I think this one might be a bit brisker from Hasan Ali. He won't have enjoyed that. It is fuller, and it's driven up to the extra cover boundary for a single by Usama Mir. He has 7, Ben Cox has 8, and those 2 chaps have got to find 55 from the last 3 overs.
And I think just in those last 2 balls, you see the difference. Whereas earlier on, So he got hit for 6. Next ball he came back, he made the adjustment and kept it tight. Whereas earlier on, especially in those last overs with Pennington and Brown, they didn't learn from the previous one and put it in the same place, and it proved very costly.
Well, it's easy. It's easy for us.
Oh yeah.
No. I was going to say not having a go at anybody for. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. What I was going to say is it's easy for us to sit here and make observations, but the observation I've made, and I've made it several times this year, just break off as Lintop bowls to Usama, who tries a switch hit and misses, is that Worcestershire haven't found bowlers for me at the death, apart from Adam Finch on occasions, who get enough Yorkers in.
Yeah.
It's length that is being hit when they are loose at the end, and it was again today, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're trying to get Yorkers in, but they're just not achieving it enough. Lintott in bowls, and Usama Mir goes big, very big, probably the biggest, certainly the biggest that's been hit in that direction today. And it goes all the way into the crowd at the Digless end for 6. He's played some cameos in earlier T20s, Usama Mir. Maybe he should have come in a bit sooner. But a second 6 for him. He's 13 off 6. 148 for 6. In again, bowls, and that one's short and wide. And he's done for lack of pace. He thinks it's a wide. Umpire disagrees. Quizzical look at him from Mir. It's a dot ball. Halfway through the 18th. Worcestershire need another 49 runs to win. Lintott again, bowl short. Usama Mir goes back. Hammers it down the ground off the back foot. One bounce. Maxwell fields it long off. They'll only get a single. And just to show how strong his arm is, he throws it all the way from the Digless end right into the keeper's gloves.
And just to go back to the point we were making about the bowlers, I'm not criticising. I'm in no position to criticise it. I'm observing what I saw.
Yeah, absolutely. Could not agree with you more. I'm not. I hope you didn't think that I was
No.
in any way suggesting that. Not at all. I agree with you. It's there for us all to see, isn't it? Really. But for me, the point I'm making is I think it's the inability to get the Yorkers in, which has really cost them. And we saw that the last ball of that previous over. Here's Lintott bowls, and this one's heaved away on the left side by Cox. And it's 4 from this field out on the boundary.
Deflected off the pigeon, I think.
And the first thing that Dan Mosley's done wrong all night. He gets a bit of I